this is an activity that you can do to construct your plot. You need to figure out key parts that you want to bring to life, and you're going to draw a line plot to decide which parts of your story will be in your comic. Since a comic is a very limited space, especially the one that we're doing right now, it's only one page, it's kind of hard to tell maybe like a whole summer worth, I'm making this up, but maybe a whole 3-month story into like 6 panels. That's very difficult. So to constructing the plot will help you figure out what are the key elements, key themes that I want to bring into the comic. For example, you may want to add the time when you thought you almost got attacked by a shark, but you also may not want to add the time where you were eating ice cream. Maybe it's not that important, but if it is, add it. Here are the parts of the plot. The first is the exposition, and it's basically the beginning of the story, and this is where you describe the setting, characters, background information, and this is a key part in the plot because it helps your readers understand what is happening, what am I going to read about, what am I going to learn about. Then is the rising action. The rising action is usually made up of a series of events that lay down breadcrumbs, ask questions, and set roadblocks and conflicts that must be overcome. This is basically setting the tone for the conflict or turning point that is going to come, which is the climax. And this is the most exciting part of the story. The protagonist will overcome the conflict and the readers will understand the outcome. It's basically the turning point. This is where everything changes and shifts. Then it's the falling action, and it kind of consists of events that lead up to the end of the story, and it's after the climax. Say something really exciting happens in the climax, say the protagonist defeats the antagonist in a battle. The falling action will kind of be what happened after the battle, what was the last kind of bits. And then it's the resolution, and it's the end of the story. It could be a life lesson, it could be maybe something, it could be maybe a quote, maybe something you want to portray to your readers, or you could just end it maybe on a cliffhanger. You could do a happy ending, a sad ending, anything you want. And this is kind of a template that I've created to create your own plot. Identify the exposition, rising action, falling action, and resolution. Pause the video and construct your own plot. Alright, now let's start thumbnailing. Since you figured out your plot, let's create panels for each part. Think about, what do I want to convey in the exposition? Because I need the characters, I need the settings, I need everything. How many panels do I want for that? What do I want to be in those panels? Same for the rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution that you've already identified. So this part will be the most fun and the most easy. Here are a couple things to keep in mind. Realistic poses. When drawing people in panels, you want to keep in mind that usually people aren't in like a straight shape. Usually they're hunched over, maybe a hand on a hip, something like that. And you want to make sure that you portray that in your panels so it kind of makes the story more relatable. And then there's closure. We already talked about this, but it's up to you to decide how much closure you want to include. Do you want to include every single thing that happened? Or maybe do you want to leave out big chunks and have the reader figure it out? And lastly is the environment and background. Think about your setting. A lot of people kind of forget this part, but I think it's one of the most important because it kind of conveys the mood, what colors, how many people. Asking questions like these can help highlight your environment and the background. Pause the video and start your thumbnailing process. The last part is inking. It's a great way to highlight certain parts of your comic. You can add thick and bold lines to draw attention to characters and places, and use fine and thin lines to minimize attention and for background characters. Professional artists use many things to ink. They can do it with a computer, online, a fountain pen, a regular pen, and much more. It's honestly up to you. And you're done. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the comic you've created. I have a bunch of resources that I've attached, so make sure to take a look at those, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.